I don't think anybody's been here for thousands of years. I'm definitely gonna find the treasure of the lost quilt here. Wait, what is this? It's just like the scroll said it would be. Lambda Rho, LR, Little Rebel. Wow, this is so advanced for something so ancient. And what's this? I bet this is it. I bet this is the treasure of the lost quilt. What's this? Flying north in the spring 2 and 4, surrounded by sky glittering orange and gold, away from the setting of the brightest star, 4 more fly by from east and far. Well, this is definitely not the treasure of the lost quilt, but it must be a clue to the treasure of the lost quilt. So let me see if I can figure this out. Flying north in the spring 2 and 4. Well, I know that flying geese, they fly north during the spring, so they must be flying geese. And their sky must be orange and gold. So I'm gonna be making some flying geese. Away from the setting of the brightest star. Well, the brightest star, well, that's the sun. 4 more fly by from east and far, so it sounds like I'm making quite a few of those. Well, I better get started making those flying geese. With the various amounts of flying geese that we're going to be making for this quilt, I have 2 different variations of how to make them in the pattern. So check out the comments and how you can get a copy of the pattern. The one I'm going to show you right now is the 4 at a time method. This is what you'll need to make the flying geese units. So what you're going to do is you're going to need the large alabaster square, which is going to make up the geese portions of the unit. And then you're going to need your colored squares, which are going to make your sky. So you're going to start by lining up the drawn lines that we've done from one corner to the other, making sure that they stay in alignment. And we're going to clip those in place or pin them if you prefer pins. And we're going to sew on both sides of that line. We're going to do a standard 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on both sides of that line. Next, we're going to cut on that line. And we're going to press the triangles outwards to make 2 L-shaped units. Right, so once we press, we end up with these L units. And now we're going to place our remaining squares from the corner to the other corner. So they're aligned to the back corner. And we'll clip those in place. And we're going to go back to the machine and again sew on both sides of the line our standard seam allowance. We're going to cut the drawn line again, just like we did for the other one on both segments. And press open the remaining triangle. And now we're basically going to trim them to their final size, micro trim, as per what is in the instructions. So I've made all these flying geese units, but I'm not sure what to do with them all. Let me look at the clue again. 4 more fly, 2 and 4. Well, clearly, the best thing I can do right now is sew them into pairs. And then I'll be able to figure out the rest of it later. All right, so we have our flying geese all ready to go. What was that? Looks like another clue. The brightest star in the sky, 2/4 of a golden pie. A flash of green as it sinks to slumber. 3.14 is a never-ending number. We know that the brightest star is the sun. We figured that out in the first clue. 2/4 of a golden pie, 3.14, that is pi, which is needed to calculate circle stuff. And if I have 2/4 of a circle, that's half, which would look like a setting sun. I must be making a setting sun. And the green. I remember when I was in Hawaii, there was this thing called the green flash. When the sun sets, there's this ocular thing that happens when everything flashes green. So the water must be green. The only way to really make anything circular in quilting is to use the drunkard's path, also known as the pie and crust. So for this one, we're going to use templates that you'll find in the pattern. And it's a good idea to pin your templates for the cutting. You just want to make sure that the templates stay flat. And now we're just going to carefully cut around the curve for the suns. So we're done with our templates. You can see one will go around this way and one will go around this way. So the next step that you want to do is we want to mark the centers of both our pie and our crust. So I'm going to fold over the corner, just give it a finger press and mark it so I can see it really well. And we're going to do the same thing with the crust. For each of our units, we're going to start by lining up those center points that we marked. And you can pin or clip. And then I'm going to walk this edge around with my fingers. And basically, I'm stretching it to go around the curve. And you can pin or clip some of this in place to get over to the sewing machine. All right, so you're going to carefully go around the edge. I recommend slowing down. And you are going to stretch this as you go around, making your 1/4 inch seam allowance. And it's okay if it doesn't end up exactly where you marked your centers. It's just to give you a good starting point. And you're just going to continue to do that around, turning your fabric, keeping that seam allowance. All right, so we are going to press our drunkard's path blocks a little bit differently for each one. On the left side, we're going to press the seam towards the sun, as I am doing, and then on the right side, we're going to press the seam of the sun towards the actual crust side. And so this is going to help us nest our seams better when we put these together. Right, next, we're just gonna micro trim some of the edges off just to kind of square it up a little bit better. You are stretching the fabric a little, so it's not always gonna be perfectly aligned on the edges. So those are gonna end up like that. We have our side pieces here, which are gonna get sewn on next, and then our bottom pieces. You may find that you'll have to stretch your fabric a little bit because you did stretch it one direction as you were doing that curve. So don't be afraid to give it just a little bit of a tug to get your pieces to align as best as possible. We are gonna do a little bit more trimming. For the side pieces of the sky that you added, it's best to press away from your sun just to keep that bulk down. So I think you can see now why we pressed our sun's opposite directions. This is going to make it a little bit easier for nesting these seams. And so I'm going to want to do the same thing when I press these. And we've completed our setting sun blocks and went ahead and sewed them together. So we're going to set this aside and keep on looking for clues. I'm not sure what to do next, so I better go do more investigation of the ruins.
Adventurer, how's your progress in finding the lost quilt?
I haven't found it, but I have found some clues that I think are leading me to making a map where the quilt must be. I just finished making a setting sun of Drunkard's Paths, aka the pie and crust blocks.
Interesting. Did you know the Drunkard's Path block is also known as the Solomon's puzzle pattern and is as old as the ancient Egyptians? It's even been found amongst Roman artifacts. The block was used frequently in America during the Prohibition, and today is a favorite block of more experienced quilters.
Professor Corey, that's fascinating. It's definitely a challenging block, but it was a lot of fun to make too.
You're also not limited to just a circle with the Drunkard's Path. You can get a variety of patterns by changing the orientation or alternating colors for different impact.
Wow, I can't wait to try some different designs when this adventure is over, but I should get back to it.
Good luck, and call me if you need anything.
All right, time to go back to searching.
Quilters always say you should change your rotary blade often, but they can be so expensive. And after thinking about it way too long, I thought, there are things that sharpen knives, there has got to be some device that sharpens a rotary blade. And after doing a little bit of research, I ended up getting the linear sharpener from Grace Company, and so far I love it. There's a little stone inside of the sharpener that sharpens your blade like a knife. I've tried this guy out on a couple of my dull blades, and I'm shocked by how much sharper they are afterwards. I've started sharpening my blade at the end of every project just to extend its life, and now I feel like I'm saving so much money because I'm not buying as many rotary blades, which means more money for fabric. At Grace Company, we believe that creativity can strike at any time, and we are here with the products and resources to bring it to life. Unleash your creativity with Grace.
Wait. Another box. I wonder if this is it. No, but it's another clue. 2 diving down, chased by golden geese. 3 darting up, never the set should meet. Parallel is the darker hue, glittering gold leads the few. Chased by golden geese. Well, I know we made the flying geese units already. 2 diving down. Sounds like it's still in the sky too. Darting up. Darting birds. Okay, so I must be making darting birds blocks for this one. And it sounds like I'm gonna have 2 and a set of 3, and some of them are gonna be parallel, and some are gonna be in gold. Think I've got it. Draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of each 4x4 alabaster square. All right, the first thing we're gonna want to do is we're gonna want to sew our 2.5-inch strips together. So we're gonna have pairs of colored with the alabaster. For the strips, we want to press to the dark side. Now we're gonna cut for each darting bird 2.5-inch strips from the colored and alabaster strips that we created. I always like to start with a micro cut to make sure my edge is straight. What we're going to do here is we're gonna overlap, so it's about 1/2 inch, so that when I sew it, my colored blocks are overlapped. So if I flip this over on this side, the best way for me to get a good 1/2 inch is to line up the 2 edges of my seam allowance, the foldy part of the seam allowance here. It'll also make a smoother seam for this long one. And so it'll look like that when I'm done. We're gonna press this seam open, and then we're gonna trim this to 4 by 4 inches. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is very much like making a half square triangle. We have our 4x4 alabaster piece, which we're going to place on top so the right sides are together. And the important thing here is that my diagonal line that I have drawn is going diagonally with my colored blocks. For this one, you want to make sure that you do what I'm going to call a scant 1/4 inch, but I'm not sewing on the line. I'm sewing on both sides of the line, just like when you do a half square triangle, but I don't want to do your standard 1/4 inch, or I'm going to lose my points that get created from this. Right. And you're going to cut on the line. Be very careful when you cut this line because you did do a scant, so you don't have a lot of wiggle room. The next thing is going to be making the half square triangles that I need to make in order to make the wing portions of the bird and the tail portions of the bird. So we're going to have our 5x5 colored piece right side up. With right sides together, we're going to put our alabaster piece on, and we're going to sew on both sides of both lines. Before we cut, we're going to draw our vertical and horizontal lines. We're going to trim our head and body unit to 3.5 by 3.5. All right, so we have that. And now we're just going to lay out our other pieces so we can check to see our best way to trim these and keep our corners, because we're working with some odd sizes here. All of our squares should come out to be just under 2 inches. So we're going to trim these down. And that should give me about my 1/4 inch. So I'm going to go sew these two together. And then sew this side on, we'll have our darting bird. and micro-trim your units as needed to get to the final sizes listed in the pattern. Well, our alternating darting birds are done, but I'm just not sure how it all comes together yet. I guess I better get back to searching the ruins. I must have missed something. Wait, how did I not see that before? Oh, somebody has been here. It looks like they set off some kind of a trap. I better be careful. Let's see if I can get this bag. I wonder what's in here. Maybe this is the quilt. No. It's another clue. Egyptians, Vikings, and Polynesians too. Exploring, trading, and finding land anew. Trimming and tacking, birth geography, halves and squares of important geometry. More of orange than of gold, this form of transport is very old. Columbus voyaged the ocean green, maritime life is not for the mean. This is definitely a tougher clue. Let me see if I can puzzle this one out. So let's see, Vikings and Polynesians and Columbus. They all sailed the seas looking for new land and to open up trading. So this must have something to do with sailboats, especially since the first known sailboat was found in Egypt. Let's see, ocean green. Well, we know our ocean is green from some of the previous clues, so that makes that sense. Trimming and tacking, definitely sailing. Halves and squares of important geometry. Well, half square triangles would make really good sails. I think with what I have, I can definitely make some kind of a sailboat. Better get to work on that clue. So for this clue, we're going to be building a sailboat from the blocks that we have here. We're going to make some half square triangles out of our gold and alabaster, where the alabaster is going to be our sails, and the gold and the orange is going to be the different layers of our sky. So we're going to start by placing our right sides together with the drawn line up of the alabaster. And we're going to clip those in place. We're going to do the same thing with the orange and alabaster. And we're going to have another one that's green and orange. And we're doing the 2 at a time half square triangle method, so we're going to sew on both sides of the line. We're going to take these back over to the cutting mat and cut on that drawn line. We're going to trim all of our half square triangles to 4 3/4. All right, well, we know from the clue that we have more oranges than gold ones. So we're gonna always end up with one leftover block, but that's okay. It's still the best and fastest way to make half square triangles. So I'm just gonna get that out of the way. Right, so now we're just going to start assembling the blocks how we have them laid out. So I'm just going to start by putting pairs together. I'm gonna go sew these pairs together, and then from there I'm gonna sew the next sets on to make the full squares, and then I can sew the squares that I have so far together, leaving the one open for something that's missing. So I'm gonna head over to the machine and get started. This is gonna take me a little bit of time. Our sailboat is mostly assembled. I'm gonna have to wait because we look like something else needs to be a part of that. Whether that's gonna be there or there, I'm not sure yet. But when we get more clues, we'll find out. So I guess I better start looking around and see what I'm missing.
If sewing is your passion, you'll want to try this. I chose the TrueCut ergonomic cutter for its incredible precision thanks to its unique ruler track and cutter guide. It locks into place as you cut, keeping the blade right where it should be. No slipping or mistakes. This cutter isn't like any other. It's built to help me finish my projects faster and safer with total comfort for my hands. If you're considering a tool upgrade, TrueCut is worth a look. You won't regret it.
Angelique is swimming around in an abandoned underwater temple. Could she be in the lost city of Atlantis? If you don't know, Atlantis is a legendary city, first described by the Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BCE. He wrote that it was a powerful island nation that sank into the sea in a single day and night. While many believe Atlantis is purely a myth, others have searched for its possible location for centuries, from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean. Some fun theories suggest it had advanced technology, crystal energy, and even flying machines. Whether real or imagined, Atlantis continues to capture our imagination as a lost world full of mystery and wonder. I'm not positive if Angelique stumbled upon the lost city of Atlantis, but hopefully she'll find some kind of treasure here.
Oh, I better hurry. This place is not stable. Wait, that wasn't there before. It must have got revealed in the earthquake. Wait, it's not here. I was sure when we found this treasure chest, the treasure of the lost quilt would be in it. But instead, I think this box is so pretty. I'm going to open it first. More fabric and another clue. From snail calm to churning but not dash, 4-patch center makes these crash. Often scrappy to save some cash, snowballed corners make the sunset gleam. The deeper, the darker, until no light is seen. Well, let's see. We know we're going to have an ocean. An ocean has waves that crashes, so I bet this has something to do with a wave. And especially churning, because the ocean churns. And snail calm but not dash. Oh, I think this is talking about the monkey wrench block, which is also called a snail block. And not to be confused with the churn dash that is also sometimes called a monkey wrench. I think that's what it's talking about. And I've definitely seen online that people will use scraps to make these fun blocks, and it has snowballed corners. That's it has to be that. And the darker and the deeper, the no light, that's definitely something that happens when the ocean, we're making the ocean for our quilts. Oh, let's get started. This clue has us making the pieces that will be the ocean, which is composed of 6 monkey wrench or snail blocks and rectangular blocks to represent the depths. We're going to start with the monkey wrench blocks. We're going to place one 2 by 12 inch medium green rectangle with the 2 by 12 inch light green rectangle. We're going to repeat with the remaining 2 by 12 inch medium green rectangle with a gold rectangle, right sides together, and sew along the 12 inch edge. And we're always going to press these seams towards the darker fabric. Now we're going to subcut these into 6 2-inch wide strips for both of the color pairs we just made. So now we're going to sew our strips together. We again want our dark greens opposite each other, and we're going to nest those seams. And this is going to make the centers of our monkey wrenches. Using the triangles from the 3, 4, and 5-inch squares, lay out the following pattern. So we have all of our triangles arranged and how they're going to be put on our centerpiece and work our way out. So we're going to start with the inner triangles first, and we're just going to flip, and you can do 2 sides at a time as long as they are direct opposites of each other. So I'm going to sew these 2 on. One of the tricks here when you're lining up your triangles is to make sure that the point of your triangle is going against the line of your 2 patches on the farthest block of the 4 patch. Between each pair, we're going to press the triangles away from the center. And now we can put the opposite triangles on. And then I'm just going to take a minute to trim off all of these dog ears that have been created. And then I'm just going to continue the process, flipping each 2 pairs until all of the triangles have been added. So I'm going to go do that. All right, so our monkey wrench blocks are done. Now we're going to lay them out, alternating their direction to really kind of create a wavy look. Then sew those blocks together. All right, so we have our waves of our ocean completed, all of our monkey wrenches sewn together. Now we're going to do the depths part. This is really easy. We're just going to sew the remaining rectangles together, the teal color with the really dark green. We're going to add all 6 of those together. Again, I've gotten some of them already put together. And so I'm going to alternate the direction that I press so I can nest the seams, as you can see here. So we have our monkey wrenches all sewn together to create our waves. We've finished putting our layered ocean together. You see the teal is at the top, and so we want that to line up with our teal triangle, so that makes this the bottom. And then we're going to nest our seams for each of those blocks and sew our ocean together. Now we're going to press all of our seams. And so our ocean is complete. With that done, now we can open the last ancient bag, and hopefully it has the clue that we need to finally find the treasure of the lost quilts. With the bottom third all done, the rest of the quilt will be real fun. 102011, 100211, 101212. Match the rest from the previous clues. You know what's really going to help us here? A design wall. So let's work from that and start puzzling this together. All right, so we know the ocean goes at the bottom, so we're going to put that up first on our design wall. We know the sailboat has to go over the ocean. We know we have a setting sun, and that takes up 2 blocks. So I bet that's going to go here. Now let me go back and look at some of those other clues. Flying north in the spring, 2 and 4, surrounded by sky, away from the setting sun. So that was the clue that we used to make our flying geese. So I know that I'm going to have some flying geese going north. I think I've got it. So now I just need to sew all of my pieces together row by row, except for here where I have some rows. So I'll do these 2 pieces together and sew these, and then we're going to reveal the finished quilt. Well, here's the finished quilt, but I don't see a location to the treasure. Where's the treasure?
Hello.
Professor Corey, I've come to the end of my journey. I followed the clues, sewn the map together, and I've hit a dead end. With your expertise on the history and mythology of the treasure of the lost quilt, where could it be?
Did you enjoy the journey?
Why, yes. It was so much fun to put this map together.
But it's not a map, and the treasure is not an object. The real treasure is making the quilt and saving the art of quilting from ever being lost.
You're so right. That is the real treasure. Thank you for sending me on this expedition. If you'd like the pattern for this quilt, check out the comments. In the meantime, you saw some of the things that I used. If you want to be part of the adventure, check out the Little Rebel and TrueCut on our website, graceframe.com. Time for me to go.
We are telling everyone's quilting horror stories. Dun dun dun! I've heard you got a gnarly quilting horror story as well. Let's hear it.
It's a good one. Be ready. I decided I wanted a quilting machine of my own to work on at home. And I thought, okay, I needed a place at home so I could do it. So I decided to go to my basement and clean out my brother's old room. I decided I'm gonna paint it, I'm gonna clean it. I did all of that work so I could finally get my own unique machine. I decided that I wanted the 19, and I got the 19. I was like, okay, I have a project. I need to work really hard on this. I need to get it done by this time. And I wanted to use ruler work. I put on my ruler base. I started quilting, and my machine started flopping from side to side.
Oh my god. Oh gosh.
I have tears in my eyes. It's making weird noises. And I go running upstairs to my mom. I broke the machine! And I'm thinking I broke it for sure. So I went in the next day, went and talked to our lovely sewing lab and said, hypothetically, if this were to happen, is it broken? And they just laughed at me and said, no, you put the ruler base on the wrong way, backwards.
That'll do it. Yeah. That'll do
And
it.
it really ruined it. So, had to start over on the project, but
That's a bummer.
I figured it out.
Thank you so much for sharing those, you guys. We have some fantastic submissions that I would love, love, love to see. So let's cue that first quilting horror story video.
One time I got a brand new rotary cutter and I was putting it back in the package and I sliced my finger and I thought, oh, it'll be fine. And I had like a towel around it and I'm like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. And I took the towel off, blood squirted all over my wall. It wasn't fine. In fact, I had to go to the hospital and get some stitches and I still cannot feel this fingertip. Then I cut myself again, same rotary cutter, but no stitches this time and no blood on the quilt, so I was very happy. Side note, I then bought recently a new TrueCut rotary cutter from Grace. Guess what? I haven't cut myself yet.
Yay! I saw that really nice man on the Grace Company's website with a big old stack of UFOs. I thought, so I bought myself a cutie quilter and I love it. So I was bringing out all these UFOs that are 15, 20 years old that I just threw away underneath the bed, whatever. So I got one, was prepping it already for my cutie quilter. I was so happy. Bright thread, yada, yada, yada. Print down, iron infused. The borders were wavy. That's why I never finished it. So now I have to go back through and tear all the borders out and re-prep it for my cutie quilter, which is going to take me quite a while. Make sure your quilts are ready properly for your whatever quilting method that you decide to do. Long arm, domestic machine, take it and pay it. Make sure it's properly prepared for your next action.
So I just started quilting, which really was not that long ago. And I decided to take on the task of making all of my siblings, there were 4 of them, quilts for Christmas. Every single one was gonna get their own like throw size quilt, which is just a lot. But I decided to take on, and I thought, you know what my baby brother needs? He needs a white quilt. White. I determined of all the colors that I could have selected that white was the one that would do really well. And it did. It looked really nice. Let me show you. See? So pretty. It's Christmas. You can see the elf in the picture. It looks great. I was very risky. And I put burgundy in the circles and on the sides. This is a free pattern, by the way, if you want it. But I think you know that things took a turn. Let me show you. Do you see? This is not a lighting issue. That is a pink quilt, an irregularly pink quilt, because I washed it. I like the whole crinkle, and I washed it, and that's what happened. Here's an even better picture of that. You can see the dye. So I made a mistake. I got a flannel burgundy backing from an estate sale, and I thought that it was fine, and I didn't pre-wash it. It's not fine, and you shouldn't do that in my book. At least that's the lesson I learned from this. But anyway, I learned an even better lesson because I got to remake this quilt, because I wasn't gonna actually gave him this quilt, but I wasn't gonna give him like a, subpar quilt. So here's what I ended up with. So there, that's what I ended up making. A lot hardier for my brother, a lot more likely to withstand the caliber of love he was likely to give this quilt. So it all worked out. So I learned a lot from my very scary giant mistake.